she had a full-blown screaming match on set with him, cleaned up his vomit, and had this very toxic, dysfunctional Hollywood working relationship with Machine Gun Kelly, all fictional, of course, people. I am with Maddie Hasson of the film Taurus, which is no news to you because you guys listened and tuned into my awesome interview with the director, Tim Sutton. And today we are with Maddie, MGK's on-screen co-lead, co-star. Welcome to Cancel Me Baby, Maddie. We're excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I'm also very nervous. The title is intimidating.
Oh.
It is. I'm scared.
Oh, don't
There's a level of fear. I'm excited. I'm scared. I'm inspired. There's a lot happening within me.
I'm having an introspective moment. Listen, all feelings I felt watching your film.
Oh, good.
So there we go. But no need to be intimidated. The whole idea of the name of my show, you know as well as I, that we are just in an uptight culture where everybody is afraid to speak their mind and make art, and without getting flack in some way or having to explain themselves. And the point of my show is to just bring all kinds of cool thought leaders into the fold and just say what we have to say, make the art we want to make, and to hell with it. Like, cancel me if you have a problem with it. Too bad. Here it is.
I like that. And I'm glad you called me a thought leader. I do call myself that.
Exactly. She's like, it is on my business card. It is on
my business card.
But people as this film does actually, and I told Tim this too, which is why I love talking to people who work on indie films, because you guys do have, I think, much more creative freedom. But yes, artists and, like I said, thought leaders and people doing and thinking about cool shit in media. And so here you are. needless to say. So in this film, Variety said that you swipe the spotlight, my dear. Swipe the spotlight. And that is, there's some great performances going on here. So that is a very big compliment. And I will say this, the MGK fan base, they are hardcore. Even after releasing my interview with Tim, It is a dedicated, in a good way. So I'm sure that there is a lot going on for you, girl. Like I said, high compliment and a lot of eyes on you right now.
I don't know if the MGK fan base is really reading Variety.
They're not?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. But I also think that like, I'm a new person. You know what I mean? They've seen, the other people that are in this, like Coulson and Megan and Scoot and all of the lovely people that are in it have been seen by fucking Variety or whoever. And so I'm exciting because I'm like the new boy in school. You know what I mean? When you're little and there was like a new boy that year and you were like, oh, PJ is so hot. Like, that's what it is. That's to me what it is.
I appreciate that. I feel like that even with my show being kind of not the new kid on the block, but with amongst the varieties. So I feel like you and I actually, we have that in common. I feel that. It's like making.
That's also a point that the movie kind of makes, like in the end with Naomi's character. She's like the new kid on the block. She's new and exciting. He's died and they're like on to the next one. It can't really be, you can't put weight on it.
Something that Tim told me that has kind of stuck with me, and I thought that was really cool, is he talked about how Megan Fox, who we know obviously is in the film and plays MGK's character's ex, very meta, love a meta moment. Tim talked about how she really had no ego, how she showed up and just had her own clothes, no entourage. And as someone who's worked in Hollywood for years and has seen it all behind the scenes, I thought that was so refreshing. And for you, an up and comer, I wondered how much of a dialogue you have about that in your head, whether you experience it, whether you're like, I don't want to be that person as the talent. I'm sure you've seen it. I was having a conversation last night with someone else in media, and they put it perfectly. They're like, you don't want to be a dick if you're a guy, and you don't want to be a bitch, right? If you're a girl. And I was like, that's a good way to put it. So I'm sure that that's something that you've, like I said, have experience in the business. Think about, talk to me about that.
Yeah, this is gonna die. Do you have a laptop charger? I just saw a low battery thing and I don't want it to be that situation. I try not I try not to think about not being a bitch. I used to think about that a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I found myself like fluctuating between not expressing myself at all. And then when I did express myself, I was like, I'm so frustrated because I've been holding this back for so long. Mm-hmm. So now I just am really direct. I'm very direct and I don't put a lot of emotion into anything when I'm on set or working.
That's interesting. And that's something that this film explores, right? Because obviously his character is someone who is huge rock star, who your character is his, basically like his assistant, his right hand. And yeah, he obviously is someone who is really difficult to work with. And I feel like, there's a thing in Hollywood where it's like, you're the diva, or you're hard to work with, or you're, bitch, or you're like the guy who's a dick. But it's like, is it even keeled, or can it go both ways? Or is it just the nature of the business, and is it something that is shed, like this movie sheds light on that? But
what do you mean? You think it's even? Are you asking if it's even between men and women?
I often feel like we don't hear about when men are dicks, right? So to speak. It's always like the diva, like she's hard to work with. She's the diva,
Yeah, I don't think it's even at all. I mean, I've been on set with men where they've done things and I've thought, wow, if I did that, I would never hear the fucking end of it. I wouldn't get away with that at all. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you to your own right hand here, coming in hot with the batteries with the save for the day.
Thank you.
Yes. I don't know your name, but you are here for our cause. Thank you. Maddie, what would be an example of that where you're like, yeah, that shit would not fly?
I mean, I've seen, people that are big people holding up set for like 45 minutes to make a point, and they get away with it because they're a big star and they're also a man. And I think a woman of, whatever same level of fame, if she did that, you wouldn't hear the end of it, because then she's a bitch, right? It's not expected out of a feminine person to, I mean, it's not okay for anyone, but when things like that happen with men, I often think like, wow, what would happen if a woman in the same position did the same exact thing? How would they be treated? And how much would people hear about it afterwards? Because when men do it, you're kind of like, oh, he's just a dude, like he's swinging his dick around. And, there's like a level of respect to it.
Totally. It's like the Ari Gold character in Entourage, right? It's like they're funny or they're entertaining. Talk to me. I like what you said, and this is something now, in my early 30s that I'm coming to as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as a woman in this business. I love what you said about being direct, because I hate how we're like, oh, I know, maybe there's it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Since you took that mindset, have you noticed a shift in how people in the business react to you and respect you, and how that dynamic has changed maybe?
I don't know if but I've noticed that I feel a lot better.
You're like, to hell with those fuckers, but let me tell you, I'm quite happy. Yeah.
I feel a lot better. And I think for me, if I focus on what they are thinking of me in that moment, like it defeats the purpose entirely of what I'm
so true.
But then I also find myself like in writing emails, like when I first started being direct, I went so far in one direction where I was like, this is what I need, blah, 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 blah. But my personality is more warm than that. But I was really avoiding like using exclamation points or being warm at all. And so I have had to find like, who am I as a person? But also, how do I get respect? And it's like a weird thing to have to navigate that men don't have to do.
Okay. So like quick sidebar off this, but I'll notice sometimes when I have a business text or an email, I'll do like a little smiley face. And I'm like, you don't need to have a smiley face. Like,
yes.
Ask the 86 the smiley face. No.
Sometimes you want to have a smiley face. Sometimes you mean it.
And sometimes I need it, okay?
There's so much fucking baggage with this smiley face as a woman in any kind of business. You know what I mean? And also in this industry where it's so creative and everyone is so close and it's not as the lines are a little bit more blurred.
Sure.
Like with me and Tim, for instance, like we're really good buds now. He wasn't just like my boss or the director or whatever. Now we're buds. So if I was texting him, I wouldn't be like, hey, I need this. You know what I mean? Like, I would text him and be like, love you. You know, it's confusing.
And, you know, it's interesting because I feel like both things can be true. And this might be a surprising take for my listeners, Maddie, because I often, and I feel very strongly about women being in a powerful state of mind and not being in a victim. Like men have it easy, women have it hard. Like I'm very much against that because I think it's what you're speaking to. Like if we step into our power, we're limitless. And I don't mean that in a cheesy way, you know, and like you're wearing a Cher shirt right now. Like who embodies that shit more than Cher? I literally will wait. And her young boyfriend, like I'm here for the aesthetic. I love the whole thing. I love the whole vibe. And so I feel like both things can be true to what we're speaking about. And even what this movie sheds light on, which is like, yeah, men are, you know, glorified by it for acting a certain way in the business or in any business for that matter. And at the same time, you know, I think women can also step into the power of their own, you know what I mean? And not be in a victim mindset.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's not charging.
Oh, it's not? Why is this charger cock blocking our moment?
I don't know. We're having a moment and it's
hey. It really is. It really is.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Is it working now?
Yeah, wait, it was. Hold on.
Okay.
Move it.
Live TV people, Jimmy Fallon could never. Jimmy Fallon
could fucking never.
Could never. Like step aside. Step aside for us, the new wave. Like she's vaping, she's got the Cher shirt, just the whole goddamn aesthetic.
I'm stressed.
She's like, I am stressed by the name of your show, girl. I was stressed at the Zoom invite, okay?
Listen, it's okay. If something bad happens, I can switch to my phone.
Okay, we got backup. I love it.
We have backup. Okay.
But yes. But does that idea make sense to you, Maddie? Again, how both things can be true?
Yeah, of course.
What do you think of, so MGK has said this, and I think he said it pertaining to this movie, but the idea of him in real life, and Tim and I talked about how autobiographical is this, blurring the lines of fiction and reality, right? But something I thought that MGK said that was interesting is how he himself feels like a Peter Pan. Like he's like, don't grow up. I am a Peter Pan. And does this movie not encapsulate that, right? Like, even though he's a rock star, he has a self-destructive life. It's like a guy our age just lost in the sauce. So, she's like, yeah, he really is. So talk to me about that aspect. Like, let's put the spotlight on these guys, right? Is this something in Hollywood? Is this an epidemic with rock stars, with men right now? Like, what is going on from your vantage point? Or with women too, with everybody. Is everybody a Peter Pan right now? Including your charger that is flying off into Neverland, Neverland.
It's happening. I'm making it work. It seems like it's about to die, but I have a good answer to this question.
Oh, I want to know. Oh my God, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Here. Yeah. Yes.
Woo!
Is it working? Is it going to work? Yeah.
It's you know what it is? It's the presence of Cher.
I'm making it work.
I'm dead as shit right now.
Give me a break.
I am dead.
I didn't come
If
prepared
this
at all.
isn't off the cuff in the moment, living for the present, people, I don't know what is.
Okay, so about your question.
So Peter Pan's, yes, the Peter Pan's of it all.
The Peter Pan syndrome, I think, is an excuse to be immature.
Look at my boobs bouncing up with excitement.
Yeah. It's a convenient excuse to not grow out of your bad habits and move past your trauma. I actually don't think that Coulson has that. I think he's really self-aware. When you speak to him one-on-one, he's very like aware of his patterns. And I think he's in a relationship where they seem to be really communicative and talk about all that stuff. So I don't know. For me, just in viewing him like as a person and not viewing the persona thing, I think the Peter Pan syndrome thing feels like a character to me, where like him as a person, sure, he's like a teenage boy in a lot of ways, but I think he is really self-aware and tries to be better. But I think the Peter Pan syndrome thing as a whole for men or for women is just an excuse to, you know.
And I feel like we're in such an interesting time culturally when it comes to that, because I feel like you have one end of the spectrum that's like, you know, be a man and rub dirt on it. And then I feel like there's another side. That's what you're talking about, which is almost like enabling them. And it's like, bro, are you good? Like, what's going on? It's concerning. So like I said in the intro, you know, again, variety, consumed by MGK viewers or not, that is TBD. They're over here with the Cool Kids Club with me and you and Shara Cancel Me Baby. Okay. But like I said, they say you swap the spotlight. It's what I talked about in the intro. Like your scenes are cheated. Like you are like, it is like you are right up in there. So phenomenal job and hats off to you. Talk to me about coming down from those scenes, because I mean, it comes with it's an occupational hazard. You are an actor, but coming down, like even in those screaming matches and the toxicity and the crying, like, were you guys on set, like between takes, like, holy shit? Or are you just like, so anyway, you know,
I think it depends on the scene. Like the screaming match, we actually both had a lot of fun doing that.
Okay.
It was nice. I think we were both equally in it. It was very real for him, and that made it all the more real for me. And we, you know, we were both like, yeah, let's do it. Scream at me more, hit me, you know, like we were both excited to get into that amount of anger. And I love yelling. So I was jazzed about that. The crying scene, eating the burgers, I was not well after.
Really?
Physically or emotionally, I did throw up because I ate, I think 10 Whoppers in full. I ate a lot of them. So physically it was bad. Emotionally it was bad. It took me an evening to recover, but I was fine.
She's like method acting, people. Look it up.
Look it up.
It's an act.
Me and fucking Benedict Cumberbatch. Let's go.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I feel like something else that I talk about this on my show, and this film encapsulates it, is how you are again, very, very feminist of me, if you will, but you are like the train that keeps this shit. Like this guy is falling apart. He has the world watching him. He's a mess. Like I said, he's self-destructive. He is like melting down on set, difficult to work with. And you are like the train that keeps the shit running. Like you are the conductor. And I feel like, isn't there something to be said? I feel like men, actually, this isn't very Cancel Me Baby, because I feel like this is a very PC talking point, but I feel like men can't fucking survive without women. Like we run, where's the lie? I've seen it even in my own family. Like they fall apart. Where is the lie?
You know, I have been with men like that, where I have been the caretaker and they truly do fall the fuck apart, and all of their issues are your issues, and you push your stuff aside, much like Alana does, and you get to really focus on this one person. You don't have to look at your stuff at all, and there's like some relief in that. And I've been with people who really have their shit handled, and they're really boundaried, and
I love that.
yeah. So I think, you know,
healthy balance, someone who has their shit going, but that also it's like the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
You can like rely on each other to keep the shit moving. Everything in healthy moderation and balance.
Yeah.
So cancel me to that, people. Okay. That
cancel her. Yes.
What's that?
I said, I'm going to get you canceled. That's my goal.
It's mutual. Let's just get each other canceled and do it. And then we'll be in the canceled state of bliss. Something that Tim also said that I really loved, and I want your thoughts on this, is how this movie, he's like, I didn't want it to have this like holier than thou message. He, in fact, was like, I actually get annoyed by movies with messages. And I obviously here totally agree with, like everything now being so virtue signally in your face, trying to preach something. And he's like, nah, like I'm not about that. And this movie ain't about that life. Speak to that. And if you feel the same, and what the movie does mean to you and what it does bring into the world, given that he doesn't want it to be this preachy, messagey thing.
Yeah, I get really bored by movies that have a very clear message. It's just boring. It's not exciting. I feel like I'm being talked down to and spoon-fed like a sweet little baby. And, you know, there are moments for that. There are moments where you want to be told exactly how to feel by cheesy, like Lifetime music cues. And there are moments where you want to come out of something being like, don't know how I feel, but that was interesting and visually beautiful. And I liked that moment. And yeah, I can't really watch the movie as like I can't go in fully as a viewer, but I can really appreciate Tim's style and his art, because I'm a big fan of like how loose he keeps things and how he likes things to just like, you know, live and not be making a point, and not he doesn't like to have moments, you know, he likes like, to just let things happen.
I love that. It's like, can we just see it? I mean, even listening to your take on this, like the first thing that comes to my mind is Disney, and how, like, in my opinion, I feel like now they are doing the absolute most to like have every single thing be a message. Like, are you taking notes? Because we're going to quiz you. And an example is like Mulan, like, right? Like I worshipped Mulan. We saw her being a boss ass bitch. We saw her like kicking their ass. Like we saw it, and it was like, that's yes. And now it's like, everyone's gone so like gung-ho extreme on being spoon-fed, to your point. And so I love the kind of
is there another Mulan that's bad?
Oh, that's a whole other thing. Well, there's a new, well, no, I'm just saying, well, so they didn't, I actually was on the movie set interviewing the stars in overseas for that film. But just in general, like with everything they're trying to do, they're like, we have a character who is this, and this is the message. We have a character. It's like, put a PSA out, and it's like, okay, like, and I really appreciated what Tim said, because it's like, let the art speak for itself. And I love the kind of like up to interpretation thing is really, that's what art is, right? It's subjective. And I love that.
That being said, Disney, like if you're listening, I'm Tech Avail, please hire me.
She's totally like, if Brie Larson mysteriously gets food poisoning and you need a Marvel star,
I'm here, you know, love what you guys are doing.
No. She's like, the thoughts reflected on the Cancel Me Baby podcast do not reflect those of Maddie.
Don't fucking listen to her.
No. She's like, we just met, so ignore this bitch.
I don't know her.
Yeah, we are not associated. She's like, but I do know Cher, and I fully stand in her statements of life.
I stand with Cher, yeah.
Maddie, do you think that being a celebrity, this is something this film, you know, tackles. And again, Tim and I talked about this, you know, the idea of always being on display and being a slave to your fans, so to speak. But then on the other end of it, like people relishing in the spotlight. And it's like, can you have it both ways? With that being said, is it hard to be a celebrity, do you think? Or a huge like rock star like this character, right?
I don't know. In watching Coulson, I mean, he's the first person that I worked with that had that kind of celebrity. I think it would be really difficult, and I can't speak for him, but I think it would be really difficult in figuring out who is the character, because MGK is a really big character, larger than life, living in its own universe. And he is a person. Coulson is different, and he's quiet and thoughtful. And, I saw him like fluctuate between those two modes in different situations. I think for me, it would be hard to separate those two things and to let them live in two healthy, separate universes. I don't know. It seems difficult, also seems really fun. I think some people handle it really well and others don't.
Going off of that before we wrap, something this film made me think about, and, again, interviewing people from all walks of life and being in Hollywood and all this is something interesting to me is interviewing celebrities of different generations. Like, the John Travoltas and the Michael Douglases versus she's laughing. I'm dead. I can only imagine what's going on. Yes, Maddie, care to share?
No.
She's like, I'm not trying to fuck with Scientology today, people. No, but versus, the A-listers now versus the influencers, reality, C-listers who think it is wild. So all that goes to say, I'm curious for your takes on the generational gap of Hollywood spotlight when it comes to entitlement and narcissism, because let's face it, it's always been there. It's always been underneath, but I feel like I'm watching it, I'm in the mix, and I'm like, how is it that these wannabe, again, reality stars, influencers have so much entitlement, or the youngsters versus the class acts? What does that say about us, and do you think that this character reflects that at all?
You know what? I actually don't think the entitlement and narcissism is different generation to generation. I think it's just much more recorded now. It's much more well documented. I think a lot of people, maybe most in this industry, are entitled narcissists.
Oh, 100.
I'm a little bit of a narcissist. Talk to my therapist. Give Leslie a call.
Leslie, shout out to you.
Shout out, Leslie.
Are you a narcissist,
hard life. No, I'm not.
But don't you feel like I actually think social media in this climate fuels it, because it's 24. I go to a party and if you look around, look at me on my phone. Oh, photo. And it's since when it's we're the center of our own universe, like never before. We are and especially people like us in this business, it's magnified because 24/7, it's watching myself on camera, auditioning, pitching yourself, right?
I mean, I think you go into this kind of business because there's some sort of hole you're trying to fill. You desperately need attention to be validated, to feel like you have worth and are meaningful. And then now there's this whole other element of social media that's added that makes this even more of a self-obsessed industry. It's not just about the exact job that you do, it's how your life is being presented, which is really toxic, and I'm not immune to it at all. Yeah, I don't know.
And you bring up a good point. I feel like the irony is people like this character in real life, all of these stars on the world stage are adored. They're on a pedestal. Fans worship them. They're like gods. And it's fascinating because you're right. In real life, I don't know if you relate or not, but these are the kinds of people who are actually insecure or narcissists and like you said, need that validation. And that's what's so wild. It's such a toxic yet ongoing relationship with fame and attention in that way, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the more validation you get from people that don't know you, the more insecure you become, because that it's the false self that you're presenting. even if it feels good in the moment, you have such imposter syndrome. And so I think it just really breeds really intense, awful insecurity.
That's
So I think
wild.
people that have that kind
Yeah.
of validation on a grand scale are likely the most insecure people.
Isn't that nuts? Like, who would
Yeah.
have thought? And it's like the bigger you get, the worse it is.
The worse it is.
Did you guys talk about this at all? Like between, on set and this idea and that weird kind of relationship with fame? Because I have to tell you too, and I think the pandemic brought this to light, is that people started to feel less empathy for celebrities. This is why I asked too, right? Because it's like, bro, we're seeing like your lavish lifestyles and we're over here in Suffer City. So it's hard, I think, for people to feel an empathy because it's like you're living large,
Yeah. I think I empathize with him a lot. He's a very sensitive person.
The character or the person?
Coulson, and
Oh,
both.
Coulson. Okay.
Both. I think
Right.
they go hand in hand. It is like semi-autobiographical.
Right. Sure.
I think it's probably really difficult. I mean, it is hard to feel bad for someone like that, especially when you're seeing what we talked about. You're seeing like the character, you know what I mean? You're seeing all the fun stuff that this person does, and their cars and their wealth and their
Sure.
accolades and whatever. But it's just like a very sensitive, likely very insecure person, that
Wild.
is getting a lot of fun stuff and accumulating a lot of wealth and fans. But does that mean anything? I don't really know.
And I'm sure that the whole process has made you think about, in real life, personally, professionally, like, it's just wild. Like, your character just keeps showing up for this guy. And again, such a dysfunctional, toxic way. And I'm sure it made you self-reflect, like, I never want to have this kind of thing in my life, or maybe I have, or maybe,
It really did. I think, yeah, it it really did. Yeah, I mean, as I was going through it, I was also in my life going through this shift where I was realizing, oh, I want to be in something that's very boundaried, and I want to be valuing taking care of myself first, and to have that person also taking care of themselves in any relationship. Yeah, and I think I'm doing that now. Hopefully it ebbs and flows.
It would be interesting if Tim did another one with the roles reverse, like the male assistant to the female superstar.
Let's do it. I'm
she's
ready to abuse someone with my power.
She's like, I'm ready to revive my role and come back blazing. So I have to let you go, Maddie. This has been, wow. Like, we laughed, we cried. I think internally we lost our batteries. We lost our minds. We gave a note to share, as we should. Very, very lastly for you, of course, you guys are going to talk about how great and cool it was to work with MGK and Megan, and as Tim did, and I'm sure that it was, and being how huge they are right now. But for you, like, what's something that was just like rad and cool, and you're like, that is the shit about them, that maybe surprised you?
Let me think. I think that I don't know if it really surprised. I mean, I think when working with somebody that is that well known, you have like a lot of maybe preconceived notions about how they're going to be. And they were both really so dedicated and so prepared. And I don't know if that surprised me or not. I think I was just happy about it.
Were you intimidated, Maddie, given that you are like up and coming and,
I wasn't intimidated by Coulson. He is like a sweet teenage boy. So any like intimidation I may have had going in, you meet him and you're like, okay, come here, I found Megan a little bit intimidating, but I think that is just because I carry a lot of baggage from Jennifer's body. Like sexual awakening, like early teen, like it was very just like a bi girl frenzy kind of thing. So
you
it was
tell her?
overwhelming for me. Yeah, I did.
Oh.
I did. I was like, thank you so much.
You were like, my sexual evolution came circa Jennifer's body. So
Yeah, it was like you, Angelina Jolie, Girl Interrupted. Thank you.
yes. I mean, I told him I've been dressing differently the whole thing because of Megan Fox, like inspo.
You have?
Oh yeah.
Good for
Like
you.
even this whole thing, and oh yeah, if you look at
I
my
like
stuff from a couple years ago, I always tried to like dress so I'd be taken seriously and be viewed as like the smart, journalist. It's what I was talking about earlier, like being like throwing caution to the wind. It's like, fuck it. Like here I am, like in my sexual womanly power. Here I am as an intellectual, and eat your heart out. Like, and she's a vibe.
Tits out, brain out. Like that is what we're doing. We're doing both. We can do both.
Wait, look at us doing.
We are doing both.
We're doing this synchronized dance to share. Maddie, wow, what a vibe. You just encapsulated everything that I'm about. So I salute you. And we got to have you back on. What a roller coaster of emotions. I thank your charger. I thank your charger for that one.
We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot
I
together.
really feel like we're on a whole new level of understanding with one another.
Yes,
so
I think so too.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to our paths will cross again, I'm sure. And yeah, you definitely killed it. And I am, in all seriousness, really excited to see what your career and bright future has in store for you. So
thank you.
What a blast. What a down to earth chick. Love it.
Okay. Talk again soon, I hope.
Likewise.
It was such a weird tone that I just took. I don't know how to say goodbye to people.
It was very Shawshank Redemption of you. I love it. Yes.
It got dark.
With that said, Taurus, everybody.
Yeah.